The early internet arrived with a distinct democratic promise, an open, global public square accessible to anyone with a connection. But that utopian vision eventually collided with a corporate reality. These digital squares are now owned by private companies, and the gates are managed by opaque, automated content moderation machines. Because these systems operate at massive scale, they rely on rigid algorithms to handle the bulk of the work. This often leads to automated filters misinterpreting context, disproportionately flagging and silencing marginalized groups, political dissidents, and independent journalists. When a platform decides a user violates a vague community guideline, there is rarely a human to hear an appeal. Without access to these dominant networks, that user is effectively erased from modern public life. Lawmakers recognized this unchecked corporate power, but to solve this modern tension, they reached back for a tool from the era of broadcast television. They dusted off a regulation known as must carry. Decades ago, the government forced cable providers to carry local television channels to prevent corporate monopolies from boxing out local news. Today, state legislatures are attempting to apply that same analog rule to digital tech giants, trying to legally compel social networks to host specific voices, regardless of the platform's own rules. Applying vintage cable box rules to a modern social network creates a dangerous loophole. Forcing a private platform to host speech against its will opens a Pandora's box of legal and social consequences. To see how these laws operate in practice, we have to look at the European Union's recently adopted Media Freedom Act. The law introduces a special treatment mechanic. It grants officially recognized media providers a VIP status, requiring platforms to issue advance warnings and grace periods before any content is restricted. In the United States, state lawmakers applied a similar tactic, explicitly trying to make it illegal for tech platforms to suspend or deplatform politicians. These specific political protections were largely triggered by high-profile, controversial bans of world leaders that spurred politicians to pass laws protecting their own digital reach. The intent behind these laws is to safeguard democratic debate from Silicon Valley censorship. In practice, they strip away a platform's ability to moderate content and protect its users from actual harm. The platforms fought back against these laws, pushing the battle all the way to the United States Supreme Court in Moody versus NetChoice. The court held that social media platforms function as private editors with editorial rights, rather than neutral public utilities. Forcing them to host content they find objectionable violates their own free speech. Beyond just the constitutional theory, there is a truly catastrophic practical consequence to forced inclusion: flooding the zone. When platforms are legally barred from removing bad actors, toxicity quickly overwhelms the digital ecosystem. Bad actors can quickly learn to disguise themselves as political candidates or alternative journalists. They weaponize these must-carry loopholes to blast hate speech and misinformation across the web without consequence. By forcing platforms to host everything, must-carry laws destroy the platform's core product, a curated, safe user experience, replacing it with unmanageable noise. When you combine opaque corporate algorithms with clumsy government mandates, you create a strictly two-tiered internet ecosystem. In the top tier, powerful politicians and legacy media get a guaranteed, state-mandated megaphone with total immunity from content moderation. In the bottom tier, ordinary and marginalized users are left exposed. They are caught between corporate algorithmic censorship pulling down their posts and a rising flood of toxic content drowning out their feeds. Must-carry laws do not fix censorship. They simply redistribute the power to speak exclusively to those who already have it. Policy experts are beginning to move away from these traditional broadcast mandates toward a framework of systemic safeguards. These safeguards shift the legal focus from dictating what content platforms must host to regulating how their internal systems operate. This approach requires mandating that platforms make their algorithms transparent, install human-led appeals processes for banned users, and build privacy protections directly into their product design. Sustaining a reliable digital public square requires a move toward fair system design, ensuring the best voices find an audience through merit, not legal compulsion.